What an unbelievably ridiculous weekend. Hello, what's up? How do we even begin this? So we're going to go over like every event we've got. I was just looking at the timeline. I had no idea what was going to happen off of that. I thought that we could have had a crazy downturn. I don't think people realize the significance of what happened. So we're going to lay it out on the line. Now, before everything that happened, the Quant auction for Larva Labs with art blocks occurred. And immediately, things took an interesting perspective. Yo, M. Dolly, what's going on? How are we doing? So the Larva Labs auction ends at $32,000 or 7.85 ETH. There is an 8.5% royalty on it. And people were like immediately selling it for rather significant losses, which was like, okay, that's sort of what happens. And also what's sort of crazy is, okay, we just said it was like over 7. 6 minutes before the auction ended, it was 6.1. Think of the last second bidders. Holy moly. Yo, Scud, what's up? What's up? Yo, Blocks, how we doing? Is that a long video? Is that a short one? What's going on? What do we got on the goods here? Is this Nev?
Welcome to an $190 million insider trading analysis. Someone
Yo, hell yeah. All right, we'll check that in a little bit. I don't know if I want to play the whole thing because I don't know if he DMC strikes videos or whatever. But anyway, back to the Quine. Again, 7.56 down to 5.8 over almost 2 ETH. People are just like, it's fine. No problem. No problem. And then over in the Bored Ape world, we got some new shoes, guys. Hell yeah. John Geiger. Honestly, I need to be more culturized because I need to know who these people are. But cool new shoes coming from Bored Apes and making the announcement as well. A little bit of art as a part of it. And he's a designer with 71,000 followers. So very much looking forward to seeing how that drops. Also, the same day of everything that was going on, we had CZ on with ThreadGuy. Here's what they had to talk about.
When you made your first $1 million?
I would say probably around 2016, 2017, just before Binance, actually.
Just before Binance? And where were you working in 2016, 2017?
Well, number one, the Bitcoin price went up somewhere around that time. I didn't track and calculate the whole time. And also the business, BJ Tech was doing good business. So it was a B2B business and business was very steady. And so I was barely financially free just before Binance, actually. So I'm the typical counterexample of what you just described. I started Binance when I was 40. So I'm 48 right now. So I spent the first 17 years of work in my work life doing different things. I was successful. I was a good coder. I was a good developer. I became a manager in a large organization. And it took me. You're never too late. There's a misconception that all the founders are very young. The average founders are quite old, actually, like 40 plus. But I would say you also take quite a number of failures to become successful. Doing startups and all these new things are really hard. So I think you can start early. You want to try things as early as possible, but you want to manage your risk and make sure you don't crush really, really hard. You can fail, but you're going to be able to bounce back. But also don't be overly desperate or eager. We have seen failures where it was because of the founders' mentality. They want to become really successful really, really quickly. They're smart guys, but they're too quick.
No, wow, hitting close to home, eh? It's funny to think about that. Like this guy gets like clowned on at certain points online. Seems like a friendly dude. And then you go online, people are just like making clown memes out of his face and everything. Crazy. Uniswap showing off their soccer jersey. I don't know if they're actually playing with anybody. Brought to you by Uniswap Foundation and Uniswap Labs. So there's no team associated with it. They just felt like we want to make a soccer jersey or team. Okay, cool, great. absolutely love it. Remember back in 2021 when all the major brands were saying WAGMI together? Was this a part of anything? Oh, they deleted the tweet. But yeah, December 9th, 2021. Yep, we did that. Introducing Pepsi Mic Drop, our Genesis NFT collection in the thread below. Remember that sort of history? Well, of course, we just lived it. If you guys are just tuning in, what's up? My name is Schiller. We go live Monday through Friday. I know tonight is Sunday, so maybe we'll skip the stream tomorrow. Maybe we'll do it. We'll kind of see. But heading into Monday, I felt what an emotional weekend. We've been following it the entire time. Let's go through all the different thoughts. If you guys have anything, would love to hear it as well. So on the timeline, Virtual Bacon, who's a content creator, goes over charts. Great follow. And entertainer. Says, what just happened? Wow. 115,000 views on something that's just what just happened. Wow. All right. What happened? Shamdu, never in my life have I seen a coin go to literal zero. Know the coin fart coin? Why is that a thing? I don't know. But I got a lot of traction this year. So just looking at this, it was like, all right, so it's at 59 cents, 49, 51. Oh, it's at 9 cents? Oh, it's 36 cents. And then I'm pretty sure it's back up to where it is. Look at what a crazy drop. And this happened on pretty much everything. Just in 1.65 trillion wiped out from the US stock market today. Well, okay, that's not crypto, but okay, this is not great. This is not great. Then you go back checking online. You got Benjamin Cowan, the Bitcoin bull, tweeting out saying Ethereum has now dropped 30% and is at its bull market support band. I think ETH can now rally to new all-time highs. And what an emotional wave. Okay, so we clearly just had an absolute cascade. We have the Bitcoin bull now saying Ethereum's in play after such a crazy drop. What's going on? What the hell happened? We're still scrolling the timeline. This is the most wild shit I've ever seen. Alts minus 70% in one candle. 70%. Eric, what was that? This is likely the largest liquidation event in dollar terms in crypto history. Now, this was at 545, and I don't think that this properly captured what it was, because you can see at this point, if we're saying this day, this was, starting to approach like the $2 billion mark, and I think we have a couple of other examples comparing, but the stats that come out of like how bad it was is truly mesmerizing. Just in Binance and Coinbase report degraded performance with transactions due to heavy market activity. Okay. Not to be unexpected in that. We got Nev. Blocks. What an absolute gem you found in that guy. True. So the current summary, as this is going on, is that Trump announces the 100% tariff on China. And so there's the big thought of it's something around there. There's a lot of different angles with it, but that's part of it. $1.65 trillion wiped out from the US stock market. $9 billion to $10 billion liquidated from crypto. Note, it ends up being more. Largest single day event ever, surpassing Luna, FTX, and COVID. Why do we live through all the... Why? We've lived through some of the craziest times, haven't we? Binance is down and experiencing difficulties. Sending love to everyone. In a wild turn of events, my JPEGs are still intact. Long live digital art. Okay, conviction. We're having a mass panic attack and this guy's talking about JPEGs. What are we doing? Ramified, what's up? Welcome aboard. And then everybody starts posting, like, here's life advice about don't use leverage trading. Well, phenomenal. Could you have maybe told us that, like, maybe a day before? No, I'm not somebody that leverage trades, but it is funny that as soon as something happens within the space, period, everybody gives like a perspective on it. Well, glad I slept through that, says DC Investor. Unrelated, but this is a real place and it's insane. Is this like a Super Mario world? See, we were waiting for the metaverse to create that, but now we have the metaverse in person where we don't even need the digital variation anymore. Crazy. And then some numbers start coming out that it's a $9 billion liquidation. And it ends up being more. There's a couple of tweets of the night sort of situation. This is maybe one of them. Today is why boomers still won't give us a mortgage. Cobie, a big time notable influencer personality in the space. Somebody a lot of people look up to him. Probably one of the most severe flushes I've ever seen on alts. I didn't even imagine alts had this much leverage in them. It feels like someone got hit very hard, and we will see a large body float to the surface soon. Reminds me a little of summer 2021. Good reminder to myself to own things that I'm actually bullish on and not things I try to shift on momentum. Some charts look like they'll never recover, whereas some things look viable for the first time in a while. When everyone is making hilarious amounts of money, I'm always tempted to start using leverage again. It is almost impossible to fight the feeling that you're not making enough or everyone else is outpacing you. No, I don't know. I don't know if I feel that. I'm just like, wow, what a roller coaster, but fair. Good reminder that fighting that feeling and avoid the wipeouts is worth it in the end. Check your friends, likely a bad day for many. Personally, I'm concentrating my bags into things that I'm happy to own for the next few years. But we're having like every person, similar to saying don't use leverage, we're having everybody make like these speeches about things and the fact that we witnessed history, which is absolutely the case. But then it comes out that it's $20 billion that was liquidated. So remember we thought earlier that it was like just over 2, then it went down to 9, then it's like, oh, it's double that. Oh, okay. The big short was added on Hyperliquid, and last short added 1 minute before Trump's tariff tweet. And so is that what the Coffeezilla is about? So here is the time lapse of the Bitcoin 1 second chart during the 115 to 102 dump. Coming around the drum around 114. Okay, we're going up 115, 134. I don't know how people do that auction. Oh, okay. We're starting to see the slippage. Yeah, it was just a V-shaped recovery. Holy, what a chart. So there's the visual of the craziness that happened just in Bitcoin. And again, a lot of the other stuff is worse. And then, so again, everybody's giving out like these different pieces of advice, and people are like, don't give out like money to liquidated friends. And then Shamdu's like, I've given money to a bunch of my Anon friends, and I think I trust them more than the people that I know in person. And like, I don't know, part of me is like, I kind of agree with that. It was fun. If you remember back to some of the earlier days within NFTs in these communities, when there's really kind of just like complete open trust, people were just slinging around massive amounts. It just didn't care. It's crazy. Well, good news is this gives an opportunity for lots of new money to enter. I got tons of calls today on what to buy, something extremely rare by normies. Usually they're afraid. So that's coming through from Genzo. And again, everybody's got a different perspective. So this might be the tweet of the night. So Barat USD says, my wife calling me a bad listener while my net worth just went down minus 65% in 1 minute. Yeah, I'm a bad listener. Okay, listen, I'm sorry. I'm having a crisis right now. Okay, I'll pay attention in a minute. Unreal. So then we have other people that are bringing up different components, and a part of this, which was one of the wildest components of this crash, is that the VibeStrategy. If you guys have been following Punk Strategy, pretty much just like held up through the whole drop and like just went back to its all-time high like quicker than anything, and it was like, okay. what is this going to mean for Monday? Because we forget that tomorrow there's going to be another launch to it. But DGMD saying VibeStrategy will be the 0 to 1 light bulb moment for many people to understand why the strategy model is so powerful, versatile in the next evolution of NFTs. I'm not going to go through this again. I've done like a whole bunch of streams covering it, but I think the way to pitch it per se is that think of all of the NFTs that don't exist anymore that were launched. And think of all the ones that exist right now. And let's hypothetically say there's 300, right? Probably more. But let's say there's 300 deserving. They got community, they got interest, product market fit, whatever you want to say. We get to relive the 300 NFT collections that made it essentially as a token launch. And I think people are going to be like, wow, this is super interesting. As is this, Vibes TCG, the Pudgy Penguins TCG, tweeting out that they were live with friggin' Walmart. Okay. So they were out at the New York Comic-Con, I believe. And they had a bunch of different pack openings in the crowd, which I thought was very, very interesting. Yo, Roar, what's going on? Let's go. We moonin'. I need to check the chart. I haven't. I think so, unless it all went to zero quickly. Captain Trippy saying no token generated events are happening in the next few weeks. He's saying that as a statement. I just don't see it. But when the market turns, hold on because it will be rapid and everyone looking to launch before the end. And this is something we saw before, right? Where all of these collections and things, there was token launches trying to ride the wave of the entire movement. Been the whole argument of, do you go with tokens that have been around for a bit? Do you go with some of the new ones? It's all personal preference, of course, but we even saw teams last week just not have any announcements, period, because all the attention was going on with what the strategies were. And so TGEs, we know that Moonbirds is coming out with one soon, but I don't know. Oh, excuse me. There is the Play Solana physical Game Boy device. They just launched their token. So technically people are going through with it anyway. Not to counteract exactly what Captain Trippy just said, but I agree, I haven't seen a whole lot. For people who still don't know how bad yesterday was, here's a quick summary. So here's a couple of tokens and what their price was and what it actually hit within that massive candle. You'll recognize some, you won't recognize others. So Atom went from $4 to less than a cent. Sui went from $3.40 to 56 cents. APT went from $5 to 75 cents. Say went from 28 cents to 7 cents. Link went from $22 to 8. And ADA went from 80 cents to 30. The top 100 blue chips nuked 80% in a few minutes. It's crazy. And then we get the big dogs that are like, hey, guys, we have a lot of crypto. Let's sling it around. Keyboard Monkey saying extremely confident in sub 100,000 Bitcoin and sub 3,000 ETH is still in play. While the play is definitely harder to enter at this point, I think it's more of a time to exercise caution and sit on your hands rather than buy things. And this was, I believe, earlier today, if not last night. Mando says, I think that we get to 120,000 Bitcoin before we hit 100,000, like you were saying. Let's get a prediction market going on this thing. Keyboard Monkey says, sure, easy win, $100,000. And Mando says, done, $100,000. These are the people that are walking in our streets of crypto. Crazy. But wow, what a huge call. Saying that it's going to go below 100K. On Bitcoin, and then putting up $100,000 to hold that argument. We'll see. And with this, we saw different news sources have fairly in-depth reactions to what was going on. The Kobeissi letter saying the more you learn about the October 10th crypto liquidation, the crazier it gets. So this is their recount of what happened. Again, we saw some of the stuff on the timeline, but again, there was a lot of events that we didn't specifically cover. This one does that. First, crypto began selling off at 9:30 a.m. Eastern, well before the first tariff post at 10:57 a.m. Eastern. At this point, many whales were already loading shorts in anticipation of a big drop. Then at 4:30 p.m. Eastern and 4:49 p.m. Eastern, a whale purchased over $23 million of shorts. Where it gets even more crazy is that longs were liquidated at a 7-to-1 ratio to shorts, also historically high. This means that the vast majority, likely 80% plus, of the 1.6 million traders who were liquidated were levered long. The whales then promptly sold shorts into the 5:20 p.m. Eastern bottom just 30 minutes later as volume crushed longs. Volume was so strong that it led to the first ever $20,000 candlestick in Bitcoin, a minus 380 billion drop in market cap before a V-shaped bottom as shorts were closed. Not only was this the largest liquidation event ever, it was 9 times the previous record. This event will be referenced for years to come. Well put. Well put. Yesterday in crypto was a 10 sigma event. Here's what ChatGPT equates to a 10 sigma event. So a 10 sigma event is like winning the Powerball lottery 10 times in a row, flipping 300 heads in a row on a fair coin, having every traffic light turn green exactly as you approach every day for the rest of your life, or having every email in your inbox be a legitimate opportunity from Nigerian princesses that actually pay. Nah, that's unbelievable. Nah, that's unbelievable. But 9 times worse than the crash, and people are bringing it up like that. And people are out making memes. Wake me up when October ends. Yeah, a little bit of Green Day. Down only. Back to up only. Binance then announces that they are compensating $283 million after 3 crypto assets depegged on Friday. I mean, depegged. What? There was a lot that got absolutely crushed. Absolutely crushed. Now, before we check out Blocks' video with Coffeezilla, on tomorrow's, we're still on Sunday. I thought we were already on Monday. Well, later in the evening, we're not. We're almost there. On Tuesday, the new episode of RWA SegMints comes out, and it's with Always Legit. You can find the link in the description down below or in my bio on X for some of the previous shows. But these guys are getting into one of the craziest things that I've seen in terms of like sneaker empires, but wanting to bring it onto the blockchain. So if you're wanting to hear a story of a 21-year-old kid who's working with his dad and doing one of the coolest things you've seen in 2025, be sure to check out Tuesday's episode of RWA SegMints. All right, let's see what Coffeezilla had to say regarding the situation.
Welcome to an $190 million insider trading analysis. Someone made $190 million while the crypto markets were crashing yesterday in light of tariffs that seem to have been preempted by a very specific trader. We're going to get into it. I want to be clear that I'm not accusing anyone of a crime here. Insider trading specifically relates to securities. We've been pretty clear that crypto, especially Bitcoin and Ethereum, are not securities. So I don't even know what this is. I think this is all legal, kind of. I don't think it should be, as you'll see. But the question is, what did this guy know? Okay, how did somebody make $190 million while everyone else was losing their shirts yesterday? If you don't know, there was one of the biggest crashes we've ever seen in crypto. And someone came in 24 hours before and started placing shorts against the market. Short is just when you bet that the underlying asset is going to go down in price and you will make money on that. Now, this all started October 9th. At 16:39 GMT time, they start accumulating this Bitcoin short. They initially put, and this is not chump change, guys. This isn't under your couch, pennies. This is $80 million that initially gets deposited, and they start placing shorts against Bitcoin. Okay, that's fine. Now the amount is unusual, but that itself is not the unusual part. Then we have Ethereum starts to get shorted at 3:49. GMT. Interesting. $30 million gets deposited into this account. Immediately start placing major bets that the market is going to go down. Why is this significant? Well, because at 14:57, this is only a few hours later, like 12 hours later, Trump posts on Truth Social that they are calculating a massive increase on Chinese tariffs. This is due to a rare earth mineral dispute. But the point is, nobody knew this was coming. except, of course, maybe this guy, because he's already got these multi-million-dollar shorts. Now, where I think this goes from suspicious to downright diabolical is the fact that at this point, the market dips a little bit because you have these threats of tariffs. But the person does not start closing out their shorts yet, which I think is very interesting. If you place this huge short bet and then the president tweets something like this, you would think you would close out your order. But not only do they not do that, not only do they not close out their short, they continue to place short bets against Bitcoin. In fact, this person continues to short Bitcoin all the way up till 2049-23 GMT. Why is that significant, ladies and gentlemen? It's because 2049 is the last short he places, okay? 2050 GMT. A minute later, 1 minute later, Trump announces they're considering an 100% tariff on China, which of course tanks the market. And this person makes literally $190 million in 24 hours. Meaning the guy was placing shorts up to 1 minute before Trump announces this big, huge 100% tariffs. And then, by the way, immediately, as if he knew something, we start seeing the shorts close only 30 minutes later. So both the ETH and Bitcoin short closed 30 minutes later. By the way, these accounts were funded by the same people. This is the same person making these trades. So to recap, this person not only times the same day that a big announcement was made, he makes these $110 million short against crypto. He then also conveniently waits past the initial tweet about tariffs until the most significant announcement, which is the 100% tariffs. And he's shorting it up till 1 minute before that. Guys, this is some of the most blatant crime is legal moments we've seen. $190 million. And the question is anything going to be done? No, actually, I can already answer that for you. Probably not. But I think what we are seeing here is just the rise of insider trading across the board. I think it's disgusting. I think it ruins capital markets and it's bad. But I don't really know what to do about it because it just seems like everywhere we're seeing the insider trading. I don't know if some of you remember there was a time where, Trump was going to post on his Truth Social that it's a good time to buy crypto and people were buying SPY calls immediately before it. But this is just completely blatant stuff, just given the perfect timing of it all and the size of the bets that were made under such kind of sniper precision. At least that's what it looks like to me. But I also wanted to say this isn't the only place where this is happening. This YouTuber Cheddar Flow has a tool where they analyze options, and they pointed out that recently there's been a big AMD announcement where they partnered with OpenAI. OpenAI is going to, receive some of their stock, and conveniently people were making bets on that as well immediately before it.
The most insane insider trade of the entire year just happened. An AMD whale bought 6 million plus of out the money calls, which was super unusual. Cheddarflow actually posted on X right as that occurred. And then only 2 trading days later, we had news that OpenAI took a 10% stake in AMD. And those calls that these whales loaded only 2 trading days before, we're already up 300%.
So yeah, I just wanted to point out that it's not just crypto where this is happening. Seems like across the board. By the way, I love the title of this. It says this has to be illegal, except I don't think anything's gonna happen about it. And that seems to be the rough vibe in the industry recently. It's that hey man, it might not be technically kosher, but if you can get away with it, you're probably fine. And it seems like most people are getting away with it in this market. Even the Nobel Peace Prize isn't safe from people front running. This is the poly market of it. And as you can see, this is where it finally got announced, the winner. But before that, traders were already basically pricing in the fact that somebody knew ahead of time that the person who won was going to win hours before. And they made a bunch of money doing that. So there's insider trading and opportunity to insider trade across the board for people who have that sweet, sweet insider knowledge. And it doesn't seem like a lot's being done about it. In fact, specifically, the smartest thing to do is just know what Donald Trump's going to post on Truth Social ahead of time, since so much of our market is now just moving based on tariff threats. That's like where the real alpha is. It used to be you had to buy a Bloomberg terminal. Now you just have to know what he's going to post ahead of time, which, for the record, I think is a great way to run our economy.
All right, so there is the one and only Mr. Coffeezilla. Roar, I have a controversial take here. I believe if people did less leverage trading and did hold more on spot, things like this would have less chance of happening. Well, I mean, the whole thing was about them leverage trading, so if there wasn't any leverage trading, you would be right. That sort of thing would not happen. First time meme fits in so good in crypto, Keck W. So that's the recap done in 30 minutes of the wildest weekend in crypto that we've lived through. And for anybody in the future that ends up looking back on the time that was, experiencing it was not as fun as being able to sit back and be like, wow, look at all the green charts and what happened on the weekend. But that's it for this edition of XFeed. Don't forget, take a look in the bio if you are wanting to check out the RWA SegMints Podcast, which we have some of the coolest people on earth that we're talking to. And again, the 21-year-old and his dad doing Always Legit. It's a great show. Going to be coming up on Tuesday. Roar, appreciate you. Blocks, thank you for coming by and passing along that Coffeezilla video that you ramified. Absolutely wonderful to see you. Scudshot, oh, it's gone.